Hi Kiwi, we are back at another episode of Pokemon Shining Pearl. I have no idea how I managed to glitch myself onto this ramp in the last episode, but that was jarring, let's say. Anywho, we're gonna keep moving along. We're on Route 210. I forget if I've already caught a Pokemon on Route 210. I don't think I have, so let's go ahead and see if we have a new member to our team today. I should probably heal up Celestabetha before I forget anything else, though. So let's go ahead and just toss a Super Potion on her. Or not. What just happened? What? Menuing problems, don't mind me. Alright, let's see who is the new member of potentially usable Pokemon on our team. Meditite. I'm reasonably confident I already have a Meditite that is usable, although we may have sacrificed it for evolution fodder. Nonetheless, I will... Let's stomp it, or we'll fire spin it. That should knock it out. And I'm gonna fast forward since we've seen a Meditite before, and I'll decide if I can catch this or not. If I want to catch this, rather. All right, I looked it up, and I realized that we actually have technically been on this route before. Route 210 is split into a northern and a southern section, but we are still technically on Route 210, so I can't catch anything here. That said, there is a Psyduck in the area, which I wouldn't mind seeing and catching just to add to the Pokedex, but I'm not going to wait around for it. But anyway, so what are we going to talk about today? Last episode, I went all over the place in rambling and somehow landed on bread as half the episode. So what are we going to talk about today is the most important question we could possibly ask. Why don't we go back to kind of Pokemon-focused rambles? Let's talk about Gen 4 a little bit more. So I will say, having kind of gone back to Gen 4, playing Pokemon Shining Pearl specifically, my rose-tinted glasses are kind of starting to develop some cracks and dust on the lenses. I'll be honest. I think I'm seeing a little bit more with the issue of Gen 4 than I used to appreciate. Now, let me be clear. I still, from a nostalgic point of view, adore Gen 4. It is when I got into competitive Pokemon, so it is pretty important to me. It matters a lot to me as a generation. But looking at it, I think it only added about 100 Pokemon to the Pokedex, so it was kind of overall a little bit more limiting.
There's an odd spaceman in front of the ruins. There isn't anything there, but that only seemed to make him angry. He's saying he will blow the town up with a bomb. Nerve of it all. If I were younger, I'd punish that spaceman with my Pokemon.
I trust that you are probably Cynthia's grandma. You seem kind of fighty.
Hey, do you know what they say? They say a Pokemon created the Sinnoh region.
Plot-wise, the teams are getting a little bit more interesting. Maybe not as interesting as Aqua and Magma, although even they were kind of whatever. I think Gen 5 honestly had the most interesting enemy team.
I must bear down and train, and for that, time is unimportant. Therefore, I have no need to watch. Take this from me.
You obtain the Analog Watch Pokétch app.
The Analog Watch app displays the current time.
Cool. I will maybe sometime in the future use that, or not, I don't care. I think overall Celestic Town is fairly small, so why don't we just kind of explore a little bit, and then when I'm done getting locked into dialogue, I'll talk more about the things I had to say.
Howdy, you studying up on local history?
No. Bye.
Mount Coronet towers at the center of Sinnoh. In a way, it's the closest place to the sky in this region.
That's cool, man.
If I climb to the top of Mount Coronet, will I be able to see all of Sinnoh?
And anyway, so back on the topic, adding 100 Pokemon doesn't sound like that much, but in hindsight, I mean, when Johto happened, the second generation, it only added 100 as well.
Where are you from? Twin Leaf Town, you say. Isn't that close to Lake Verity? That lake is said to be home of Mesprit, the being of emotion. It must be looking over you.
My big sister is studying the myths of Sinnoh. She wants to know how people and Pokemon interact in the days of myths. Were things different back then, or were they the same as now? She says that's the focus of her research.
I wonder if your sister is Cynthia. It's an old book. You begin reading it. When that Pokemon was born, intelligence bloomed among us, enriching our lives. I think that's Azelf? Or maybe that's Uxie. I think it's Uxie. When that Pokemon was born, emotions bloomed among it, and giving us joy and sorrow. That's Mesprit, I believe. When that Pokemon was born, willpower bloomed among us, spurring us into action. That is I've already forgotten its name. Starts with an A. Azelf, Uxie, and Mesprit. The three spirit Pokemon of the lakes that supposedly created kind of the human ethos, if you will.
There's no Pokemart in this town. Instead, you can buy and sell things in the house right next to me.
So basically it is a Pokemart. It's just like a Ma and Pa Pokemart they didn't give into the corporate, although this guy looks like he might be the corporate trying to buy them out.
Putting on a pair of glasses changes how the world looks. Taking off a pair of glasses changes how the world look too. Deep, man. So would you like to change how the world looks to your Pokemon?
You obtain a pair of black glasses. If I recall, that gives a 10% damage boost to Dark-type moves. Would be helpful for Captain Squawk to hold going into Fantasia.
The sunlight is bright in the daytime. How about a pair of black glasses? Black glasses raise the power of Dark-type moves.
Oh, you're right on the money on that one.
Welcome. May I help you?
I'm here to buy. Let's see. Don't need a whole lot at this point. I think, actually, yeah, they don't really have anything that I could particularly need. So you're literally just a Pokemart. There's no difference in terms of what they offer, except for maybe you. Nope. These are also typically offered at Pokemarts. All right, well, thanks for keeping... I'm glad we have a nice little Ma and Pa shop. It's cute. I think that's it for Celestic Town. So let's go ahead and progress the story a little bit. And then I will eventually be able to ramble about my pros and cons in my head about Gen 4. This gives me like, is there a hidden item over here kind of vibe? Whatever, I don't need to get distracted by this. Let's go ahead and talk to this Team Galactic Grunt. We'll keep leading with Celeste Betha for now, that's fine.
This town is insignificant. There's nothing of value here. It doesn't need to exist, so I'll blow it up with a galactic bomb. Galactic bomb. You try to mess with me, I'll shut you down with a Pokemon battle. So what's it gonna be? Are you gonna mess with me?
I don't know where this voice is going, but it's going down my throat, and my throat doesn't like it.
You dare to oppose Team Galactic? That means you're taking on the world. No, the universe even.
All right, enough of that voice, please. I'm not gonna have a throat left by the end of this episode, I swear. I'm following up the previous recording, and I definitely did a lot of the gravelly back of the throat voices then too. Anywho, okay, we've got a battle. That means I have a chance to talk. I still do not associate Beautifly with enemy teams. It just doesn't seem right, but whatever. I digress. So, I think my biggest gripe with Gen 4 thus far is just the lack of variety of Pokemon in the overworld. I have not found that many Gen 4 specific Pokemon, I would say. Like, there are some pretty classic ones. Meditite, Medicham, Krogunk, and then Toxicroak, Stunky, Stuntank, Glameow, Purugly. But I haven't really encountered them in a way that I can catch them. And even with Nuzlocke rules, I maintain that thought process. And a lot of the other Pokemon that I've encountered just haven't really stood out to me. They're not like super competitively viable. They're not super amazing for casual play either. I like their designs to a degree. I think Toxicroak and Krogunk are awesome Pokemon in design, honestly. Like, I really, really like their designs. But I haven't really had many opportunities to catch them. And it feels like there's a scarcity of Pokemon that weren't from the first 3 gens. And that's one thing I really respect about Gen 5. They basically said, at least I believe they did, they made it so you can only catch that region's Pokemon initially until you unlock the regional decks. And I honestly, personally believe that's how every Pokemon game should be, like, casually.
I just got worked over, and by a kid no less.
I do honestly believe that when a new Pokemon game comes out, the regional decks, meaning only the new Pokemon of that region, should be catchable in the first part of the game. And then you beat the Elite Four with those Pokemon, and then you can access the national decks and all the other Pokemon.
Too much to handle. Whatever, I'm out of this one-horse town. There's nothing to do here anyways.
And, I mean, on the other hand, that does maybe make it very limiting. It makes it with a time crunch for the Pokemon team who wants to churn out a game every year or two.
Well, aren't you quite the magnificent trainer? That was magnificent. As the Elder of Celestic Town, I want to give you my thanks. Oh, that old charm. May I see that, dear? What's that? You say Cynthia entrusted you with it to deliver to me? That's Cynthia. She's my granddaughter. This old charm is something made in Celestic Town long, long ago. It was made in honor of a mythical deity said to have created Sinnoh. These old charms are still discovered now and again. Since you're in Celestic Town, why not look around inside the ruins?
A giant etching of a Pokemon-like creature covers the wall. There is some fading text etched in as well. The flow of time never stops, the past, future, and present. Here's Palkia. A giant etching of a Pokemon-like creature covers the wall. There's some fading text etched in it as well. Space is ever-expanding dimensions. Our spirits, too, are as space. This one sounds a little bit more like, woo! A little loopy in the dreaming category. All right, let's see what we can find in here, because presumably there's something worth looking at. Ah, yes. Could it be the three spirits? You examine the ancient cave painting. Mysterious designs cover a whole section of the wall. There are three strange things forming a triangle. In the middle of them is a shining sphere. What is all this about? Could it be the red chain?
This cave painting reminds me of an old story. There existed a being so powerful it was considered a deity at the time. Opposing this were the three Pokémon. The three kept balance with the one as if they formed a triangle. It's an ancient legend. It's an ancient legend of Sinnoh that is told to this day in Celestic Town. Oh yes, I found something useful. You should take these. They belong to my granddaughter, but she's not using them.
You obtained TM95s. Cool of you to just give away your granddaughter's stuff without her consent. Real cool, Grandma. Oh, okay, you never mind. You know what? Never mind. She doesn't need that. I'll take that. Yeah, Surf. Heck yeah. Surf and Hidden Moves app allows you to move across the surface of water.
Each of those TMs contains Surf. The user controls a huge wave, drags everything around it except the user itself, and attacks.
Yeah, that sounds like Cynthia, just dragging everything around her with her into just one monstrous attack. Okay, maybe not her dragging things around her, but like a monstrous attack from Cynthia? That seems appropriate.
And my granddaughter said something about, what was it? Oh yes, you can use Surf from your Pokédex to cross water, such as seas and rivers. Use that hidden move in the field, however, you must first obtain the Heart Home Gym Badge. On that matter, you'll have to handle it yourself, I'm afraid.
Well, sounds like we're officially ready to start heading home to Heart Home Town City. Anyway. Now, do I just fly there, or is there another route? Because I might be north of it now. I mean, if I recall, Heart Home kind of earned it. Oh no, it's this voice again. Kiwi, once again, I apologize for what I chose to give Cyrus, but I'm also not sorry, and I love it. Now, can my throat keep up with this? Let's see. Nope, I have. Please hold, I'm gonna drink some water. There appears to have been an insignificant struggle here. Everyone should step back and view things from a bigger perspective. Yes, a bigger perspective. One that is on a universal scale. My name is Cyrus. I seek the power to create a new world. A world without strife. However, that power seems to be unavailable here. We've met before, yes? It was at Mount Coronet. If you discover any power derived from the legends of Sinnoh, inform me. For that power is what I need to create my new world. Bye! My voice is breaking so bad. Oh, that was terrible. I might have to re-record that in post. It was so bad. I don't know. Well, if I did record it in post, I'll make a little note here, I guess. But, meine Güte, that was miserable. I have wrecked my throat for the day, Kiwi. There's gonna be some editing to that scene, I imagine. Anyway, I'm gonna pick up these berries and we're gonna keep talking about Gen 4. Anyway, the story is interesting, I guess. Like, there aren't a lot of characters that I immediately resonate with. I love Cynthia as a champion, though. I think a lot of people do, not just from the trauma of her being a absolute terror to beat, but just she looks really cool and she has a really cool team. But it's just a matter of, I feel like it's somehow vaguely bland, and that's weird because I really like. I've been looking back at Gen 3 and feeling like, is it nostalgia goggles or is it really that great? Because so much of Gen 3 is water areas and water trainer battles.
I'm psyched for this. Here goes.
And like, even if you do Emerald version, they change Steven, who has this really interesting character arc and narrative about just being kind of this rich boy, potentially given a lot of privilege, but ends up being the champion with a pretty solid steel team, which is a very, very good type in competitive Pokemon, at least from a defensive point of view. And Metagross in Gen 3 was an abject monster. And they replaced him with a water type Elite Four champion. After half the region, half the world map is water. They just added more water. And I don't really like that they did that. Wallace is cool, I guess, but I don't remember him the way I remember Steven, who you interact with throughout a fairly large portion of the narrative of Gen 3 games. Gen 4, like Cyrus is a presence, I guess, but I mean, the leader of the enemy team is never really a presence, except for Gen 5, and that was what I was going to get to, is that I think out of every single generation, Gen 5 by far had the most interesting enemy team. Their whole ethos was the idea that Pokemon should not be trapped within balls. Yes, people should be friends with Pokemon, but they shouldn't necessarily force them to fight. Basically, the enemy team is PETA, but like a kid-friendly, not disgusting in how they portray things PETA. Like, not an aggressively, like, belligerent group of people so much as a, hey, maybe we should rethink how we treat Pokemon and treat them better. And I respect that. I really like the idea that they had with that. And N, who is technically not your rival, but may as well actually be your rival, is so much more interesting because of it, because he actually offers a legitimate counterpoint to what your character is doing. Your character is kind of the epitome of traditional Pokemon. You catch Pokemon, you train Pokemon, you battle Pokemon, and you're trying to make them as strong as possible. And yeah, Pokemon is all about that bond that you forge with those Pokemon that you catch and train and battle with, and I still like that idea as someone who plays a lot of Pokemon. But conversely, N offers a reasonable counterpoint of, is what we're doing right? Are we forcing these Pokemon to act against their will and engage in combat where their skills and interests might be elsewhere? Live in parallel with each other, but not like force fighting.
I don't get why we can't win.
And I mean, that's kind of, when you think about it, the entire ethos of Pokemon is fighting. Why? Why do we want to fight for fun? I mean, like, I know there's a lot of people who are into like mixed martial arts and boxing and all those kind of like televised combat scenarios. Oh my goodness, these ninjas, I swear to God. Speed is a ninja's best weapon. Can you keep up? Elizabeth is kind of low. I'm gonna have to heal her on turn 1, I think, unless this guy has something that we can one-shot him. Ninja Boy Rick. What have you got? Skorupi. How do you pronounce that, Kiwi? Skorupi or Skorupi? I've heard both ways, and I don't know what is correct. I'm gonna go, I think Skorupi sounds cuter, so I'm gonna probably go that route. This Pokemon can probably learn Bulldoze, and I am not risking that. Let's go ahead and send out Quipplecore. I think Quipplecore can handle a Skorupi just fine. Resist the Poison-type moves, resist the Dark-type moves. It'll have physical attacking moves most likely, and we have Bulldoze to hit it for super effective damage because it is at minimum a Poison-type move, or a Poison-type Pokemon. It may also be a Dark-type Pokemon. I know its evolved form, I believe, is Poison Dark, because Sydney, the Dark-type Elite Four member, has one. Drapion, that's what it was. I was blinking on its name for a second, what that Pokemon's name was. We have not used Quipplecore in quite some time, so it's nice to see our good old Graveler boy showing up for a change. Would be very annoyed if we get poisoned, though, because that'll hit through our defenses no matter what we do. Thankfully not. Alright, so I can confirm that it is not currently a Dark type, because Rock Smash would do neutral damage if that were the case, but it's not very effective. So it's definitely Poison type, possibly Poison Bug, or just Mono-type Poison. We'll hit him with the Smackdown to finish him off, I think. Anyway, so yeah, so N is not necessarily the leader of, what is it, Team, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on the name. Team Plasma, I think it is? I think it's Team Plasma. He's not the leader, but he's kind of the figurehead of them, if you will. And for a lot of the people on the team, they probably think of him as the leader. The reason why I don't consider him the ultimate leader of Team Plasma is because technically there is a bigger batter somewhere hidden behind him kind of trying to pull the strings a little bit, and definitely goes rogue once and realizes, okay, maybe some of what we're doing isn't so hot. But at the end of the day, I think I'm looking forward to whatever remake they make of Gen 5, which they inevitably will. I know we are getting Legends ZA at some point, which I'm also very excited about. Granted, I still haven't played Legends Arceus yet. I did a lot to conceal myself too. But I am interested to see what they do for the remakes, the inevitable remakes of Gen 5, presuming that they will, in fact, do remakes for those games. I guess I'll just use potions. I'm not in battle. I can afford to use the cheaper option right now. Maybe this is just kind of wasteful. It doesn't matter. But I think looking back, like maybe the Gen 5 Pokemon aren't my favorite designs, but I still like most of them, frankly. But story-wise, I do think Gen 5 had a lot going for it.
Whilst exploring the ruins, I spotted a trainer. I must investigate.
I do think this is going to have to be the last episode of Pokemon that I record today. I am losing my voice from those voices, unfortunately. What else can I say about Gen 4, Gen 5, like in comparison? Like, enemy teams notwithstanding, I still think, like, it's like I have to dissect the nostalgia, because for me, up until Gen 5 are going to be my sweet spot for Pokemon. Once Gen 6 and on happened, I started kind of falling off on Pokemon a little bit, mostly just because it was where undergrad had really picked up. My work schedule was really kind of intense, and I think it was where the most notable decline of Pokemon began to happen, and I think that's in part because I don't think Pokemon should have switched to 3D. I honestly think Pokemon would have been more timeless if they stayed with sprite-based artwork. The 3D models are cool, but they're so low resolution, and I mean, like, I don't come to Nintendo games for graphics. I have never cared about graphics as being the deciding factor of whether I enjoy a game or not. But even I have to admit that the Pokemon games, as you get further and further in, just look rough.
My investigation revealed the trainer to be tough.
Like, you cannot look at a modern day Pokemon game and be objective and say, this game is gorgeous, comparing it to other games out of similar specs. I'm strong, 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 I'm strong. Am I really? No, I am strong, I'm strong. Okay, I'm all good to go. Wow, you startled me good. I think you'll understand what I was doing when you see the move contained in these TMs. Oh gosh, can I figure it out? It's not bulk up, it's Figure 8 maybe? Is that even a move? Let me explain how that moves without getting too technical. Let's say your opponent raises its defense using, oh, it's Psych Up. It's definitely Psych Up. I don't think it told me what the move is yet, but I definitely know it's Psych Up now. Let's say your opponent raises its defense using Harden. Your Pokemon can use Psych Up to get the same defense boost as its opponent. Basically, your Pokemon gets the same status boost as its targets. Yep, that makes sense. He was definitely psyching himself up. Anyway, where am I going with this?
I go everywhere with my Noctowl. We're gonna show you our...
Oh no, Kiwi.
I go everywhere with my Noctowl. We're gonna show you our best. Ha!
Oh boy, didn't expect puns there. Anyway, like, we've all heard it 1,000 times. Pokemon looks like PS2 graphics, let's be honest. And we're like 3 generations past PS2 at this point. And it's a shame, because I would love to see what Pokemon could do with modern day graphics. I don't think it needs to, and that's the most important point. And I think that's what a lot of people get lost in the sauce about, is graphics don't make a game fun. There's a bit of polish that they can afford, but they aren't what makes a game fun, unless that game is entirely about the spectacle. And if it is about the spectacle, then fine. Like, I think action spectacle games can be awesome. But Pokemon isn't here to produce the most mind-shattering cutscenes. There's a formula, and they're sticking to it, and I respect that decision to a degree. I do think that they need to be a little bit more creative and experimental, and that's why I think Legends Arceus was such a good step forward. But I still feel like they're very set in their ways in a lot of other aspects.
We did our best. That's what matters, right?
I don't know, it's hard to please everyone, especially with Pokemon. At the end of the day, I still love these games, but I'm not buying mainline Pokemon titles anymore, unfortunately. Like, I did not buy Scarlet and Violet, and I really have no intent or interest in playing those games. They just look far too janky, and despite being open world, honestly, for me, making Pokemon open world makes me want to play it less. I personally do not like open world games. It's not that I think they're bad, it's not that I think they're not fun, it's that I think I've made it pretty clear in this playthrough that I have some wanton ADHD in some instances, and it makes it very hard to focus. And the thing about open world games is I do not make progress in them very much at all because I'm constantly getting distracted, wandering off, doing something new. And for some, that's the fun of open world exploration. You can constantly go 1,000 directions and find something new, something interesting, something different, until you realize that it's collectathon and you're just finding the one of 17 different MacGuffins that you need to collect for someone to get a marginal increase in something fancy. In a lot of games, that's how it kind of boils down. And for me, I, again, don't really mind that until I start realizing, okay, I'm like 20 hours into this game and have barely made progress into the story that I want to be invested in. I feel like for me, I like games with a strong, fun gameplay loop, but a lot of what I care about in a game is narratives, is the story, and open world games are just hard to maintain a narrative in. And then, like, don't get me wrong, I feel like Elden Ring, for example, while I haven't played it yet, I think Elden Ring is a good example of an open world game that I would likely enjoy playing, just simply by virtue of the fact that it's not about the narrative so much as the gameplay loop. And yeah, there are things to find, but you find the main things you need, and then you just focus on doing your boss fights. And the boss fights are what keep you going. Yeah, the getting lost is the breathing room before you find your next boss fight. And there are so many boss fights, and even regular enemies are a challenge, so they make up for it. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth, and it's towards the end of the episode, so it's going to be hard to kind of justify my feelings fully here in a concise and meaningful manner. Well, this is Route 211. We have not been on 11 yet. Okay, we have. We probably... I don't actually know if we've gotten our first catch here or not. Why don't we go ahead and find a Pokemon in this area? We'll catch it just for the sake of having something, and I'll figure out if we've already gotten a Pokemon from 211 or not. And we'll end the episode there. So let's see who is going to be our new addition to the team. Another Ponyta, but here's what like I said, my biggest gripe is that a lot of the wild Pokemon, it's Krickadoon, Ponyta, Geodude shows up a lot. Like, the same Pokemon show up in most of the wild areas. That's my biggest complaint, or at least how it's felt for me. It could just be I've had really bad RNG, honestly, but it feels that way. Like, all I see, pretty much every first encounter I've had has been a Geodude. I have been in my right to catch a Geodude on this Nuzlocke challenge 8 times. But oh my goodness, it is what it is, I guess, at the end of the day. I don't know if this is weak enough to reliably catch. We're gonna go ahead and toss a Great Ball at it and see what we get. Ultimately, my concerns are open world games. I feel like they often kind of let the story fall to the wayside at the cost of good exploration and good world. And that can be enough for people, but for me, I sometimes feel like I'm so distracted from the main goals that I forget what those main goals are and start to become disconnected from them. And that's what ruins open worlds for me, I think. If my main goal is the exploration, then fine, but often it isn't. All right, I am gonna name you... You are female. Okay, perfect. We're gonna name you Hornet Jill. Why are we naming you Hornet Jill? I don't know. When will Silk Song come out? I don't know. Those are the great questions of the world. Why did I name the Pokemon the way I named it? And why? And when will Hollow Knight Silk Song come out? We're just gonna fly to Hearthome at this point. Apparently I can't cross through Mount Coronet, and apparently this route was just entirely superfluous for our purposes. But on the bright side, in the next episode, we'll be able to take on a gym leader, presumably. Maybe it's about time I heal up at a Poké Center. I don't really feel like I need to. We haven't used a Poké Center in a long while, honestly. But I think this is Captain Squawk's time to shine. He's level 41. Our lowest level is 38, so he can get a maximum of 44 before we can't use him anymore. Kiwi, I think we're gonna go ahead and save outside the gym and we'll call it an episode. The point being is, when I saw Pokemon as an open world game, kind of similar in vein to Sonic having an open world game, for me, that was a bit of a turn off. I like those games because they are not open world, frankly. I like being able to like have a more focused direction.
Hey there, how's it going, Champ-to-be? The gym leader here is a user of Ghost-type Pokemon. Beware, normal-type moves have no effect at all on Ghost-type Pokemon. It's as if they weren't there, but you'll have to see for yourself. Go get him, Challenger, I believe in you.
I don't know where that accent was trying to head, but it was heading in the wrong direction. Anyway, Kiwi, this will likely be slightly below normal time because there was a bunch of stuff I had to cut out, especially when I tried to do Cyrus's voice in that initial little lookup of stuff. But with all that said, maybe I'll ramble a bit more about my opinions on open world games and why I wasn't that into or wasn't attracted to the idea of Scarlet and Violet and Sonic Frontiers. Games that I will eventually maybe try, but I'm not rushing to them, admittedly. With all that said though, Kiwi, I hope you've enjoyed watching, and if you're awake, I hope this is helping you fall asleep. If you're sleeping, I hope you're sleeping well. I love you. I'm gonna go rest my voice though. I overdid it with the voices today. Until the next one though, enjoy. My name is Cyrus. I seek the power to create a... I'm gonna have to edit this heavily, Kiwi. That power seems to be unavailable here. We've met before, yes. It was at Mount Coronet.